So that means that the product goes backwards. It goes back from customer to manufacturer. Can anybody give an example of reverse logistics?
Thinking laptops.
Laptops?
When they come down, I used to sell them in Comet. I used to work for Comet.
Yeah.
And a lot of people buy them. Sometimes they don't have software problems and stuff. We send them back and give them a replacement.
Yeah. So that would be support. Okay. So support. A product is faulty or a product doesn't work and you send it back. Your Apple laptop or whatever it is, your mobile phone, you send it back and it goes that way. Anything else?
The incident here when the cars had a problem with the accelerator. Or when the cars called back, so that recall.
Yeah, recall. That's a really good example. I hadn't thought of that, but you're right. When there's an error in the product, or there's food poisoning, or whatever, horse meat, that sort of stuff, then it also goes back. Okay? Recall. Anything else?
Feedback? But that's a service.
Feedback is more of information flow. So we would not normally classify it as reverse logistics because that's really the goods flow.
Yeah. It's returns one, like when you've done like something.
Yeah, returns, support, returns. A very good example of a reverse logistics supply chain is car repair. Okay? If your car crashes, and you're hopefully okay, then your car goes into a supply chain, but it goes backwards. Okay? Eventually it comes back, hopefully okay. But car repair is a good example. But I'm missing one more example of reverse logistics that is it's not really to do with faulty equipment.
How about to upgrade stuff?
Upgrade, yeah. I'm looking for consumer goods, for example. Anybody an idea of reverse logistics? Okay. For example, recycling. Huh? So when you buy a TV, then you can always take your old TV back, and they will take it in. And what they do is they don't just put it on the tip. Huh? They actually dismantle it, and they try to see if there's anything useful that we can still use. So you send your old TV back to Sony, Sony dismantles it, and thinks, oh, that's actually quite a pricey little thing that we can use in another TV. That is called recycling and also remanufacturing. And this is remanufacturing. This is very popular, especially in consumer goods, consumer electronics. Why? Well, it's cheaper, okay? Less cost effective, I should probably say, but you know what I mean. And there's also, it's also good for the environment. Huh? So those are two good reasons to do remanufacturing. Very, very popular. Most plants have now two entries, if you like. One where the new goods go out, and another one where the old goods come in. Okay, and so they have a supply chain, or a production cycle, if you like, where remanufacturing is a normal part of the process. Okay, so that's forward logistics and reverse logistics. Recycling, remanufacturing. Clear so far?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. One thing that is often an issue in supply chains is that transparency is a big problem. There is no single company that covers the entire supply chain, or at least not in most cases. So, for example, this retailer only looks at this bit of the supply chain. This warehouse only looks at this bit of the supply chain. And this distribution center also looks at this bit of the supply chain. Okay? So what we get here is a good opportunity for suboptimal results. Because if all three optimize on their own little path, then that cannot be very beneficial for the entire path. this is a very important issue with supply chains, that the transparency can be a problem. We can look at the transparency by also drawing information flows. So for example, if this is a retailer, what could it be? Dixon's, Comet. Comet not a good example because they also have warehouses. And it's not a good example because they're bankrupt now. But just a retailer may communicate just with warehouses. Okay, so we would have something like this. The warehouse may communicate just with the distribution center. Distribution center would just communicate with the plant. And there would not be any further transparency. Now you can imagine that a manufacturer would be interested in what happens right at the customer side, at the demand side. Okay, so something like this. That does not tend to happen. Why does it not tend to happen? Because even though I could draw it quite simplistically here, in reality there are many retail stores. And to get all the data then collated to the manufacturing plant is often a problem. Okay, so this, if you like, jumping over a particular company to inform or make transparent what's happening downstream is often not happening. So what you see here is almost like a chain, supply chain. But it's not really a network, a supply chain network. Okay? We have a very good name for one of the problems that can often occur, which is called the bullwhip effect. Has this been discussed in class? Bullwhip effect. Bullwhip. A bullwhip effect derives its name from a whip, in the sense that if you crack a whip, then you start off with very small variations and you end up with large variations. Okay? You get the idea. So that's bullwhip. And a bullwhip occurs when small changes at the customer side lead to very large changes at the manufacturing plant. Unintentional, right? So we were not really aware that it was going to happen. That's called bullwhip. For example, lot size or reorder size. Suppose that you run out of a particular product, let's say beer, okay? You go to the retailer, and how many do you buy? Maybe 6. Okay? So your lot size is 6. Now suppose there was no inventory at the retailer. They did not have any beer. So the retailer has to reorder from the warehouse. Now the retailer is never ever going to order 6, but always a lot more, for a lot of reasons. So let's just, for argument's sake, say 60. Okay? The warehouse then goes to the distribution center, just in case there's absolutely no inventory in the warehouse. The warehouse communicates with the distribution center and says, okay, I need to satisfy this order, give me 600. Okay? Because again, further downstream in the supply chain, lot sizes are higher, sometimes by tens, by hundreds, by thousands. Okay? And a distribution center will then say, okay, well, I need from the manufacturing plant, let's just make it nice and simple, 6,000. Okay? Because you would never run a whole production cycle just for 6 units. So what we've seen here is totally unintentionally, because there was no inventory in the supply chain, I go from 6 to a production order of 6,000. Everybody see that? And that's called bullwhip effect. And it's unintentional, and it's because there is no transparency. All the communication goes from here to there, to there, to there. Because you can see how inefficient it is. Because they make 6,000. And eventually there's 5, 9, 9, 4 that are just unused. There's unused stock that is somewhere in this supply chain. Okay? So that is the bullwhip effect. Clear so far? Yeah. Now we have a case for this particular workshop, and the case is called cars. But it's nothing to do with cars, actually. It's a supermarket. Tesco, Sainsbury's, or what's the other one?
Morrison.
Morrison's, yeah, or Waitrose. So one of those. And it's actually based on a real-life case, but I don't know which one of the supermarkets it is. I have copies of the case. Has anybody actually read the case? Don't be shy. You can raise your hand. Okay, so if you have not read, what I'm going to do is allow for some reading time, because I printed it out. So you can. I'm going to give you like 5 minutes just so to have a look at the case. It's one page, and it's a description of a supply chain. Okay. There is a question. There are actually several questions at the end of the case. And the first question is to visualize the supply chain. So it's all text. I have it here. It's all text. There's no picture, like this. Okay. So what they want you to do is they want you to visualize the supply chain. It's a bit tricky because it's not as easy as this one. So there's a little catch just to make it a little bit more challenging. And I'm going to give you some time to read the case and to draw the picture of the supply chain. Like I've just done, you only have to draw goods. Okay? You don't have to draw information. Okay? I'll give you until about half past. Yeah? And in the meantime, I'll come around with the attendance sheet.
What unit was that for? So what, the whole book goes? You can't go by yourself.
You can.
I'll just go.
Just one person has to collect.
I'm scared of this one. As long as I get 20% out of 30% in every essay, that's my aim.
Images.
Yeah, did you?